Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So recently I stopped by my local thrift store, which is called AMVETS here in Buffalo, and I picked up three of these sort of grab bags of hard toys. And a lot of times I go in there, I usually stop in there maybe once a month, and a lot of times I just don't really see anything interesting. But this visit was kind of different, and this was the first bag I noticed, and you'll probably realize why I decided to pick this one up right away. You can see a familiar face inside there. So, and then I was going through there, and it looked like maybe all of these bags came from the same donation or something. They all had sort of like a similar tone to them in terms of what was in there. And so my total purchase was $11.90. Here you can see the receipt. So I picked up three of these bags, and I think I'm kind of lucky in terms of what I was able to pick up, because some of this stuff you just can't find it in stores anymore, and I think it's pretty interesting. So I'm going to open up each of these bags and show you what's inside. So we'll start with this one, and then we'll end with the largest bag, which is this one back here. And so let's open these up and start to take a look at them. So this first bag caught my eye right away, just because I noticed some Indiana Jones stuff in there. And it wasn't just one Indiana Jones figure, there were actually several items in here. So I thought it was definitely worthwhile picking this bag up. And there were other bags there as well, in addition to the ones that I picked up, but they didn't have quite as much good stuff in them as these ones. So this was a no-brainer in terms of picking these up. Okay, so here we have everything from this first bag. And as you can see, there's not just one, but actually four different Indiana Jones figures in here. And I believe all of these are from the 2008 releases that were done during that time period. And the articulation on them is pretty good. You can see there's various bendable limbs on them. And the detailing on them is pretty good as well. So that's pretty cool. And each one of them seems a little bit different. This one might be one that was actually made for the fourth Indiana Jones film, because he actually looks a little bit older in this one. But I'm not sure. I'd have to do some research and see, how many figures were actually released in that collection. I know there were quite a few, so it's pretty interesting. And I think at least two of these are the same figure. You can see some of them have the hat, and then some of them, just have a regular head. I don't think the hat is necessarily removable on these either. One thing I noticed on these is that this holster is too oversized, so I'm not as crazy about that particular, feature. But in terms of the detailing and everything on it, I think these look pretty good actually. So I'm kind of excited about being able to pick this up. As you can see, each one of these looks slightly different, although it may just be a variation in terms of paint details and everything. But again, I'm not really too sure. I haven't really researched this line of toys completely, so I don't really know, too much in terms of, what was actually done. So as you can see, this one and this one appear to be the same figure. That holster for the gun and everything seems to be the same on both of these. So the detailing looks pretty similar on those two. So I'm guessing they are just two of the same figure. So, but that's okay. I don't mind the fact that I have two of the same figure. And you can see some of these accessories. You can see there's like various whips, an extra bag. Looks like there's like a pickaxe here. So, and I'm not sure if all of this actually went with the Indiana Jones line or not. Again, I haven't really researched too much of this. You can see this rifle. So I'm not really too sure, if all of this came with the same line or not. And I don't really know what this is. So yeah, some of these items are kind of a mystery. But I'm guessing that these various whips did come with the Indiana Jones figures. So that's kind of cool. There's several of them. There's the one that's sort of looped up, and then there's one that's extended out. So that's kind of cool. And then there's this thing, which I'm not sure if it came with that toy line, or it might have been, something that was offered as like a something that was, like maybe like a Burger King item or something like that. It has like this little bug that pops out of it, but you can see it says property of Indiana Jones on it. So again, I don't really know if this was part of the toy line or if this was something completely separate. So looks like it has used to have like a sliding door on it. That's missing. So I don't really know what to do with that. And then there's this item, and I'm not really too sure what that is, whether or not that went with the Indiana Jones line or not. And then there's these two other figures, and I believe this figure I think is from Terminator Salvation, because they produce some action figures that went with that particular line. And you can see the robotic hand here, and I sort of started to look this up a little bit online because I could see what it was inside of the bag. So I was able to figure that one out. And this other one is I think Sam Elliott's character from the Golden Compass, and I don't think this figure is complete either. I was sort of looking online. Again, I could see these things through the bag, so I could kind of like estimate, what was going on with them, and you can see some of the markings on them. And I think this figure actually had like an overcoat piece, so I think that part is missing. But again, it does kind of look like Sam Elliott, so I think that's kind of cool. And so yeah, there might be something I can do with this figure. It's a little oversized. It's not in keeping with the same scale as 3 3/4 inch, but pretty interesting anyway. There's definitely some customization possibility there. So who knows? But honestly, just in terms of all the Indiana Jones stuff that was in this bag, I definitely consider it worthwhile. Just in terms of what I paid, which was under $4. So I think that's pretty cool. So let's move on to the next bag. So this next bag was interesting to me because it seemed to have at least one G.I. Joe item in it, and also several Star Wars items in it. So the rest of it seemed like a mishmash of various action figure lines. Not really too sure what they are, but again, for what I was seeing through the bag, it definitely seemed like it was worth picking up. Okay, so we have the contents of this bag, and as you can see, some of these pieces are broken. This Iron Man figure is missing part of his arm. But again, the possibility for using this for customizing is there. So I think there's enough good pieces there that I might be able to use that. This figure, I'm not really too sure what it's from. Obviously, it's missing its head, but again, lots of articulation on it. So I think it might be interesting. I'm wondering if this might be from the Tron sequel. It kind of resembles something that might be from that particular movie, but again, I'm not too sure. And then this one is for Lam, and obviously it's missing its head, but this is obviously a Star Wars figure, and I recognize it as such because I have the Power of the Force for Lam, which I can show you by comparison. So this version is obviously a lot more articulated, so it's very possible if I found an extra Power of the Force for Lam, I could use the head and actually, mishmash it together and actually complete this figure. Chances are I'm not going to find the head specifically for this figure, but again, the body is completely there. So, the possibility for customizing any kind of droid figure is there with the raw materials from this. And also, there was this what appears to be Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe, although I looked at it closely and there don't appear to be any markings on this, which is strange. If it was a Hasbro product, it probably would be marked Hasbro. So I'm wondering if maybe this is a knockoff. Not really too sure. The head of the figure looks kind of strange, so I'm not really too sure what exactly is going on with this. But again, a lot of articulation on this, so even if it's not an official G.I. Joe product, it actually has some potential in terms of customizing. And then last but certainly not least is this Darth Vader figure, which appears to be complete aside from the lack of a lightsaber. But lots of articulation on this figure, has bendable knees and a cloth cape. So I figure this is a big time score. I noticed the date on the bottom of the feet is actually 2005. So this is it's an older figure, but the articulation on it is pretty advanced. So certainly much more advanced than anything I have from the Power of the Force 2 line of figures. It's not as good as the vintage collection, but it's pretty good overall in terms of articulation. and probably the most articulated Darth Vader that I currently have in my collection, in this scale anyway. So that's very cool. Definitely a huge score in terms of being able to find anything like that at a thrift store. So, and then the rest of this material, I'm not too sure what a lot of this stuff is. Some of it doesn't really seem recognizable to me. Various action figure lines contributed to these various pieces, and some of them appear to be broken. And yeah, I'm not really too sure what this stuff is. But again, it doesn't really matter because what I really wanted was the Darth Vader and then the various pieces that also came in this bag. So I'm going to consider this a win in terms of how much I paid. Again, it was basically under $4, and that Darth Vader is definitely worth at least $4. So that's pretty cool. So let's move on to the last bag. So this last bag appeared to have the largest quantity of stuff and also the most diverse range of items. There was definitely what appeared to be some more Indiana Jones stuff, and also stuff related to G.I. Joe. There was at least one item that was Batman the Animated Series, and a little bit more Star Wars stuff too. So yeah, I looked at it and I'm like, yeah, this is definitely worth whatever I paid, less than $4. So definitely worth picking up. Okay, so here's the contents from that third bag, and I moved over to the left all the stuff that I either can't identify or I'm not really too sure, whether or not it's going to be usable. And then identified over here all the stuff that looks familiar to me or that I definitely know that I can use. And the one main Star Wars item in here is this Imperial Officer. So, and this is different from the one that I have in my collection. It's actually similar in terms of the articulation, but in terms of the head sculpt, it actually appears to be a little bit different from the one that I have. So that's actually quite nice. So that's going to give me some variation in terms of my Imperial collection. And there's also a whole bunch of lightsabers here. So I'm not too sure which characters these belong to. Some of them have some paint loss in terms of the handle, but some of them are pretty good and they're not really broken or anything like that. So that's pretty cool. Always nice to have a few extra lightsabers. And then in terms of the Indiana Jones items, here we have the Cairo swordsman. This is the guy who looks very dramatic and swings around a sword, and then Indiana Jones just basically shoots him with a pistol. And I believe this might be his weapon too. So I think this might be the sword that he has. So it does fit it in his hand. So that actually looks pretty good. So this figure might actually be complete. But again, I'm not too sure if that's the exact sword that goes with him. But even if it's not, I think this is a fantastic figure and very happy to have this. So in terms of, building Indiana Jones collection, I think I'm well on my way to getting started. And there's also this Cairo Henchman as well. I believe this came in a 2-pack with Marion, again, from the original movie, the Raiders of the Lost Ark. So, and that looks pretty cool. And I'm not too sure what weapon he came with. There are several swords and stuff in this collection of weapons. So it's possible one of these actually came with this figure. So, but again, I'm not too sure. I'll have to do a little research and see what accessories actually came with this figure. But overall, it looks to be in pretty good condition. Might need some cleaning up, but overall, I think that's pretty cool. So again, 3 Indiana Jones figures. So I think that's pretty good. And so far, 2 pretty solid Star Wars figures from this collection. There's also Catwoman from the Batman animated series, and I'm not too sure when this particular figure was issued. It does have some paint loss, obviously, on the face, but that can be repaired. And like these joints are a little loose as well. But again, overall, pretty good condition. All the limbs are there, so that's pretty cool. And then the rest of this, I'm not too sure. It does seem to be G.I. Joe related stuff. I was trying to find some markings on these, but I looked and there does not appear to be like Hasbro stamps on it. So yeah, I'm not too sure when these were produced or if they're knockoffs or they're actually legitimate Hasbro products or not. So this looks like either Storm Shadow or, one of the ninjas. So he's obviously missing a leg. So that's pretty much good for parts. This one, again, I'm not too sure whether or not that's from the G.I. Joe line or a knockoff line. Again, might be good for parts. There's also what appears to be Cobra Commander. But again, I looked for markings, and other than the Cobra logo, yeah, there doesn't appear to be any Hasbro stamping or anything on it. And I don't recognize this particular line. So he looks a little skinny. So I'm sort of almost thinking this might be a knockoff, but again, I'm not too sure. If any of you recognize this figure, let me know in the comments where this is from, because I'm just not too clear on when this was produced. There's a lot of articulation on it, so I'm guessing it's fairly recent, but again, I'm not too sure. And here's one other G.I. Joe. Again, he's got the Cobra logo on there, and his limbs are all there, and does appear to have pretty decent articulation, double jointed knees. So, but again, I can't find any markings on this. There's no Hasbro stamp or anything like that. So it's unclear to me, who produced these or when they were produced. So again, if any of you in the comments recognize this, just let me know, where it originated and what year it's from. That would be very helpful to identifying some of this. And there's one other figure here that, again, I don't know what line it's from. I don't recognize this at all. So this is a total mystery to me. Again, it may be from Tron. Has this sort of ring on the back. So I'm thinking maybe it's from action figures that were produced for the Tron sequel. But again, I'm just guessing. I don't really know in terms of what this was. It looked like it has like maybe a battery compartment or something. So this might have had sound effects or something with it at some point. So again, not too sure. So here we have the highlights from this particular purchase. And overall, I couldn't be more happy. I spent less than $12 for, even if I had just picked up this stuff and nothing else, it would have been worthwhile. And let me just talk about this Imperial Officer. So this one is definitely different from the other one that I have in my collection. I can show you side by side. Basically, the body and so forth appears to be the same, but as you can see, that head sculpt is completely different. So I think that's very cool to have a variant of this figure in my collection. Definitely worth picking that up for the variation alone. And this version of Darth Vader is definitely one that I did not have in my collection either. It does appear to have more articulation than virtually any other version that I have at this particular scale of Darth Vader, including the bendable knees. So that's incredibly cool. I'm always in favor of having an extra Darth Vader that has a cloth cape, because putting him in his TIE fighter, basically you don't have to remove the cape in order to put the figure in the cockpit. So that's very cool. Very excited to have that. And as you can see, I have multiple lightsabers. We're also part of the accessories that came in these grab bags. So that's very cool. It's always good to have some extra accessories. And then in terms of the Indiana Jones stuff, again, I didn't have any 3 3/4 inch Indiana Jones items in my collection. And now I have 4 versions of Indiana Jones, and each of them seems to be unique, although I think 2 of them are kind of similar. So I'll have to sort of decide which is the best of those. And obviously, having some of the accessories like this whip is also very cool. Didn't have any of his other weapons like the pistol or anything like that, but each one of them has his bag that's slung over his shoulder. So that's pretty cool. And also to have some adversaries for Indiana Jones, including the Cairo swordsman. I think that's very cool. And I believe this is his weapon. I'm not too sure. It does appear to be consistent with the weapon that he has in the movie. So, but again, I'm not too sure. I'll have to do a little research to see if that is the exact accessory that came with this. But there's also some other swords that were included with this collection as well. So even if that one doesn't work, there's some other options. And there's also this Cairo Henchman as well. He needs to have a little bit of cleanup, I think, because he's looking a little dirty. So I may actually just need to tidy this one up a little bit. But overall, pretty happy with this one as well. So again, just very cool stuff, and definitely worth the less than $12 that I actually spent to pick up this stuff. That's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, think about subscribing to the channel because I will be covering more of this kind of stuff in future videos. Until next time, I hope you're having a great day, and thanks for watching.